Hi, friend. Well, it's over. The membership doors are closed, and I've got all the feels to tell you about today. I've worked for hours and hours on end to plan every single minute that the doors were open, and now it's done. You know that feeling after a really big event or some type of party that you planned, and everything stops and it feels almost like weird because you're forgetting something? Well, that's how I feel right now. I feel like I can finally slow down, but my brain just isn't really sure what to do with that information. So there's nothing like recording a podcast episode to get the brain to slow down, right? So I promised you that I would be diving into all the details, the numbers, and more importantly, even the feelings that are associated with all of this. But I thought I'll go ahead and give you the spoiler alert and tell you that I didn't hit my goal. So there it is, I said it, and now it's time to dig in. So are you still with me? Of course you are, because your jaw just hit the floor, because I said very publicly that I didn't hit my goal. Most people don't talk about when they don't hit their goals. I mean, some people do, and there are some podcasts out there that talk about it on an ongoing basis, but when I set out to record this behind the scenes series of my launch of the membership site, I thought no matter what, I'm going to share the information. So you can go back and listen to the previous few episodes and hear me say that you're going to hear no matter what happens, I'm going to tell you. And so I didn't hit my goals, and it's because I set really high goals. But I want you to know that I'm going to be sharing all the details because so often we think if we don't hit our goals that something's wrong or we did something wrong, and we typically will take it upon ourselves to think, oh, it was me. But you know what? Sometimes we just set really high goals because we're really driven people. And I want to talk about that and shine a light on it today because that's exactly where I am. I am recording this episode the morning after the doors closed on the membership. So last night when I was in bed at midnight, the doors closed to the membership. So when I woke up this morning, I looked at my computer and saw the final numbers. And now you're getting all the real feelings. This is just a few hours after me writing a few notes and just journaling a little bit about the process. You are getting the behind the scenes for real. But before I dive into the details, I want to welcome you to the Marketing Yoga with Confidence podcast. I am your host, Amanda McKinney, and I'm a marketing coach for yoga teachers. And if there's anything you should know about me right off the bat, it's that I teach what I do. And today you're going to hear that I set goals and didn't achieve them, but I'm still going. And that's my goal with this podcast and how I coach yoga teachers, to consistently encourage you to keep going, no matter what the outcome is. Whether you knock your goals out of the park or end up crying on the bathroom floor when you don't achieve them. I want to be a resource for you because what you're doing in sharing yoga with your students is amazing. I want you to reach more people and grow your yoga business. So that's why I started this podcast and why I'm a coach for you. I share my marketing expertise with you. And yes, I'm still saying marketing expertise even though I didn't reach my goals. Because that's the thing about marketing, is it's always learning and growing and adjusting and figuring things out along the way. So sometimes we hit our goals and sometimes we don't, but we can always learn from the process. And this episode is brought to you by my members, all 73 of them. That's right, I ended up with 73 amazing members in the end. And it's their energy and love that is fueling this podcast episode. They are the reason I consistently show up, and I want to share a very special thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you so much, sweet friends. I appreciate you, and I'm so proud of you for showing up even when you're scared. I'm so inspired by your courage each and every day, and I thank you for allowing me to be even just the smallest part of your journey as an amazing yoga teacher. But before I start crying on a podcast, I'm going to switch gears and share those numbers with you because now that I know you know the 73 number, you're wondering about all the other ones. So here it goes. Over the last 2 weeks that the membership was opened, I was able to welcome in 40 new members. And this is combined with my 33 founding members that gives me the total of 73 amazing yoga teachers inside the membership. And I know you're probably thinking, but Amanda, on those other podcast episodes, you said that there were 36 founding members. And you're totally right. There were actually 3 founding members that had to make the choice to leave the membership. And while I'm so sad to see them go, this is part of the process. This is what a membership is all about. And if you own a yoga studio, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't own a studio, then you've likely signed up for something and canceled it before. Because if you don't use it enough or life got in the way, whatever the case may be, life happens. And so in a membership, we have to think about it. And the technical term for this is called churn. But I promise I'm not going to get all technical with the word churn because it's super boring. But in a membership model, no matter what it is, if you have a studio or a membership site like myself, you have to account for people leaving. It's just how it goes. And eventually, once you have a membership or a studio, you understand that there's usually a life cycle of a member. And you'll know that time, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is. But when you first start out, you totally have to take a guess. But the good news is that I did take a guess. So in my numbers and my goal planning and all of that, I did account for people leaving. And I will continue to do so over the course of my membership. Right now, I'm taking the guess based on research that it's going to be 10%. So on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis, all of that, I am estimating a 10% churn. So meaning that each time I bring new people in, I am trying to replenish that 10% and grow it on top of that as well. So all of that to say that when you run the numbers and you have to think about those people leaving, it is important to remember that, but it's also important to understand that it's a process and that we're not upset with the people that are leaving, right? It's just a circumstance in life. So to those 3 amazing founding members who said that they needed to walk away from the membership, I am still cheering them on. There is no hard feelings. Of course, I reached out and said, hey, is there anything I could have done differently? Is there something that was in the membership that could have been better? I'm always looking for ways to improve. But by all means, I was not upset with those 3 people. But it did adjust the numbers a little bit, so I did want to explain that over the course of these few behind-the-scenes episodes. So I ended up with 73 members total, including those founding members. And if you remember from those previous episodes, that is quite a bit off from my goal. If you remember a few episodes back, I set the goal of welcoming in 100 new members. So that was not accounting founding members. I wanted to welcome in 100. So I have still currently 100 Post-its on my wall right now. And you know what? I'm going to keep those Post-its for the next time I open the membership because I truly believe that I will be hitting that 100 mark on the next round. But for right now, there's not names on those Post-its. So I'm just going to keep thinking about those yoga teachers. I'm going to think about those yoga teachers who are still on the fence about the membership and weren't quite ready to commit. Or there's going to be some that don't even know my name yet that will end up on those Post-its the next time around. So by no means am I putting away these Post-its forever. I'm still calling you in, dear yoga teacher, and I know your name will be on there very soon. But when you look at the numbers, overall, I hit 40% of my goal. So if I look at just the number of 40% of my goal, it feels like crap when I just look at the paper. But as we know, life isn't only what's on paper, because the other number is so important and even more important than me hitting 40% of my goal. And that number is 73. I have 73 incredible yoga teachers that I am so freaking pumped up to work with that I can't even describe it. I have 73 yoga teachers that said, yes, Amanda, I want you to teach me. I want you to coach me and help me grow my business. I mean, really, listen to that. Oh my gosh, it's so incredible. And I know that the membership is going to grow beyond this number 73. But for right now, that number is amazing. And there are a few other numbers that I need to take into account as well. But I didn't take these into account right away. And it was actually my husband earlier this week that made me remember these specific numbers. And these numbers are really on the top of my mind this morning when I think about the fact that I set a goal of welcoming in 100 yoga teachers, it would be so easy for me, the extremely driven business owner that I am, and I just have to embrace that. I could be really disappointed in myself. And I say this because I want you to hear my words. I want you to hear that it's okay to think of that right away. If you don't reach your goal and you are disappointed, that means you're driven. That means you care. It means that you are invested in what you are doing. And I want you to know that it's okay to have that feeling. But I want you to remember, the other numbers. Whatever the numbers are, I'm about to share my other numbers that are way more important than that 40%. But I need you to remember your numbers. If you're listening to this and you're in the middle of a launch, I want you to have some numbers written down before that last number of, oh, I hit 40% of my goal, or whatever it is. Even if you hit 100% of your goal and you reach it, I still want you to remember the other numbers that you worked with. So those other numbers I mentioned, I told you it was my husband that brought them to my attention. And so I want to tell you how that came about. On Thursday night, the night before the last day of the membership doors being open, I was sitting at the dinner table with my incredible husband, and I said, I'm so sorry. I can't focus right now. I'm just a little nervous about tomorrow. It's really consuming my mind, and I wish I could be really present right here, but I'm really focused on the fact of like, what else can I do? I've got one more day. And I don't know. I really don't think I'm going to hit my numbers. It doesn't make sense for me to hit the numbers. And I know I've said that a lot over the course of the last few weeks, but it's reality now. And I don't think I'm going to hit my numbers. And he looked at me with so much love and said, so what? And I laughed, and I literally just sat there and said, but I set the goal. I set the goal to achieve this. And I really wanted to achieve it. I knew it was far-fetched. I knew it was a big goal, but I really wanted to get there. And so he gave me the pep talk that I needed in that moment. He gave me the pep talk that I hope I would give to you in the moment if I was coaching you through a launch. And he gave me the pep talk that I really think that I needed in that moment. I know I needed in that moment. And these are the numbers that he brought to my attention. He said, Amanda, I need you to remember all that you've done. I want you to think about how you came up with the goal of 100. What brought you to that goal? And in real transparency here, I was going to set the goal lower. But it was my sweet, sweet husband that said, you need to aim higher. And he really pushed me. And I love that he did, because I set my goal higher, and because of that, I worked my freaking tail off. I really did. I worked so hard because I wanted to achieve that goal. I wanted so much to aim big and get there, right? Like I had every intention of getting there. And so I worked really hard. And so he reminded me in that moment, Amanda, I need you to remember how much work that you've actually done. And I want you to remember that you did it by yourself. Yes, you have someone helping you create the podcast show notes page and a few social media posts, which is amazing that you have that help. But I want you to remember that other than that, you did everything. You're listening to podcasts from people that are so much further ahead than you. And you're thinking, but they did this and they did this and they did this. But in the end, you have to remember that you did everything by yourself. So you physically did everything that you possibly could when you were by yourself and running this. And then he mentioned these few numbers. And these are the ones that I didn't remember. He said, Amanda, you decided to focus only on yoga teachers about a year ago. So it was like you launched a new business a year ago. And then he said, Amanda, when did you think about the membership? And so I thought a minute, and I literally counted on my fingers, because it was February of this year when I was sitting at lunch with a dear, dear friend of mine who is my dream student. She is the person that I think about before I do anything. So if you know what I'm talking about, I talk about how we have to have a dream student all the time. We have to know who we're creating our offerings for. As a yoga teacher, you need to have that dream student. And I have a dream student, and she's a real life person that I actually interact with almost every day. And I know a lot about her. I tell everyone to know their dream student like they know their best friend. And I might not know her as much as I know my best friend, but I know her as a yoga teacher in that way. And so one day we were sitting at lunch and she mentioned that I should have a membership site. And I had thought about it before, but in that moment, it really became real because that's when my dream student told me what I should do. And if there's anything I want you to take away from any work that I do, it is that if you listen to your dream student, you will absolutely succeed. Because if you listen to them and you create what they want and create what they need, they will buy it from you. So in that moment, which was 8 months ago, by the way, so that number is very important. 8 months ago, I had the idea. The seed was planted. And then I allowed that idea to grow and become a plan. And then 4 months after that, I welcomed in 36 founding members, which were so incredible to say yes when there wasn't anything in the membership yet, but a promise that I would create something amazing for them. So after that, I then worked my tail off to create as much content as I could for them, to engage with them and understand exactly what they needed. And at the same time, I decided it was a great idea to create a podcast. So 3 months ago, I launched this podcast, again, all by myself. So I launched a podcast while creating a membership site at the same time. And then this month, I welcomed in 40 new yoga teachers into the membership. So over the course of 8 months, and that's a number I need to remember, over the course of 8 months, I launched 2 things, a podcast and a membership site. And that's pretty incredible because I don't think I would tell anyone else to do that at the same time, yet I did it. And these are the numbers that I have to remember. So instead of focusing on the fact that I only reached 40% of the goal of 100, I need to remember that I did this in about 8 months. And I also need to remember that I'm really new to the yoga industry. So the other business coaches and marketing coaches out there for yoga teachers, who are amazing, by the way, I've connected with so many of them and I consider them friends now. They have been doing this for a really long time. So I have to remember the fact that the fact that my name is even in the yoga industry right now and that 73 yoga teachers said, "Hey, Amanda, I want to learn from you." That is pretty incredible. And then he went on to say, imagine if you had set your goal at 30 and you had exceeded your goal. You would be so excited, but I bet you would wonder if you could have done more. And so you don't have that thought right now. You did everything that you could do. And then he said, if I were to have told you a year ago that 70 yoga teachers would be paying to learn from you each and every month, what would you have said? And I probably wouldn't have believed him. But in that moment, it made me really recognize the numbers that are more important than the 40% of the goal. And bless him, he deserves a medal, I tell you. He was my cheerleader and he was my coach in that moment. He was to me what I pray each and every day that I am to you. I hope that I am able to remind you of how far you've come and how hard you've worked and how important the other numbers are. When we set a goal, it is so important. It is so important to remember that goal. And again, I want to go back to that feeling that I had of it's okay. I felt disappointed that I didn't reach my goal because I'm driven, not because I'm a jerk and I'm focused on the numbers. I'm a really driven person. So when I set a goal, I really, really, really want to achieve that goal. And it's important to recognize that it's okay to be disappointed in not reaching a goal because that's who you are. If you're like me, that's just who you are. But it's really important to, after recognizing that feeling and saying, okay, I feel this way, it's also so much more important to remember the other numbers and remember what you did. And that's what I would do if you are going through a launch right now and you've been following this podcast episode, these few episodes along with me going through this. I want you to know that there's other numbers that are super important. And that's one thing I didn't do before the membership doors were open is I didn't know these numbers. It took my husband one day before the doors were closed reminding me of this number and how important those numbers are. So to you, I want you to remember these numbers earlier so that you can have them on hand, just like I have the members' words on my wall. There are some other numbers that I think I'll be putting on my wall the next time around. But if you're curious about if I'm sad, I want to acknowledge that too. If you're curious that if I'm sad, if I didn't achieve my goal, the answer is that I am disappointed that I didn't hit my goal because I am that driven person. But I am in no way, I want to make this very, very clear. I am in no way sad about what my membership looks like right now. I am not sad at all. I am so proud and I'm so excited for those 73 names that are on my wall. I literally cannot wait to start the month of October with these yoga teachers. I'm so excited, so excited. So I want to make that really clear too, that yes, I did have my goal set higher and I am disappointed that I didn't reach my goal in and of itself. But I am so happy, and I hope you can hear it in my voice, that I have 73 amazing yoga teachers who have said, yes, Amanda, I believe in what you're teaching and I want you to teach me. And you know what? I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up for those 73 yoga teachers because those are names of people. Those are businesses that I get to impact. And every single one of those yoga teachers, those 73 names that I have on my wall, get to impact so many people. The ripple effect is so real, and I feel honored to be a part of each and every one of their businesses. But I do want to share, in addition to all of these feelings and thoughts about goal setting and all that, I want to share some marketing lessons with you too, because holy moly, I learned a ton during this launch period. And the biggest lesson, the absolute biggest lesson that I learned along this way from all the planning and the prepping, you heard me talk about that in last week's episode, but there is a light bulb moment that happened along this week, and it is such a biggie that I want you to tune in and listen to this. If you are multitasking, I need you to come back right now because this is the biggest lesson that I can talk to you about in this moment. So you heard me talk about how I prepped food. And yes, I'm talking about food right now. I prepped people and food, right? And that was for the launch process of, okay, I've got a lot of things going on at home and in my business. So I thought as many things I could prep in advance would be the smartest decision. And yes, it was, and I will not stop doing that. But here's where the light bulb moment came in. I thought that it was the doing that I needed to prep ahead of time. It wasn't the doing. It wasn't at all. The thing is that I have to figure out how to not make so many decisions in the house. Okay, so I'm going to unpack that a little bit because it doesn't even make sense how I just said that. Typically, I plan the week ahead, right? So that means dinner, lunches, what's going on in the week, all of that. I make all decisions on Saturday, Sunday, so that going into the week, I don't have to make as many decisions, right? That's pretty typical. It's every week. That's how I function for our family stuff because I am running a business and there's a lot of decisions that come in to play with when you're running a business. And decision fatigue is real. If you've never heard that term before, it's the fact that we have to make so many decisions in a day that we hit a cap at some point. And as a business owner, you hit that cap earlier, right? Because you're making so many decisions. And so when I'm making decisions for family and for the business, it really came to a head this time. And again, I really thought I was doing good with prepping everything ahead of time. But what it came down to was I actually need to outsource or ask for help, figure this out. I don't know the answer yet. I need to figure out how to not make food decisions when I'm in this process of this 1 month period where I am in launch prep and launch mode. So the 2 weeks before the opening of the doors of the membership and during the launch period, I don't want to make any food decisions or really any home decisions. So what I mean by this is, I actually don't mind the cooking part. I don't love cooking, to be really open. I don't love cooking, but I don't mind it, if that makes sense, because I've gotten used to doing it. So I don't mind doing it. It wasn't actually the cooking that was the problem. It was making the decisions. I don't want to make the decisions of what we should eat. So for an entire month, I need to not make decisions about food. And I know it sounds silly, but this is real. And I think this is something that I'm feeling really led to talk about because this is the thing that actually caused the most stress during all of this process. Yes, I had to continuously show up and market the membership and ask people to come in. But where I felt the stress was making decisions about food. It sounds really silly, but I literally would have to make a decision in the middle of the day of what to make myself for lunch. This is the thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about because it sounds really silly, but it was for me, the thing that caused stress was making decisions. So really specifically, I'm talking about food, but it could have been like what car to drive that day, or who's going to do the driving around, or what's for dinner, or what to watch on TV. It doesn't matter what the decision was. When it came to home decisions, I need to remove those from my process for about a month. So what that means to me is that I have to figure that out. So that means I need to talk to my husband and see, will you make all the decisions about the household, or do you need me to outsource this? And if that's the case, what is that going to cost? Because I was talking to a friend and it was, what if, Amanda, what if you just ordered those box of food, like the ones that show up to your doorstep, which that would be amazing. And what I found myself saying was, it's great. And I looked them up. I've had time in my schedule to look up these boxes that show up to your doorstep, and there's so many options, and I could not make the decision. So instead of actually doing something that would probably help me in the long run, I couldn't even make the decision of which company to go with. So at that point, I was like, I can't even do it. I just have to go to the store and buy the things that I normally buy, and then I'll decide every day what we're going to have for dinner. What I need to do is figure out how to not make decisions in the 3 months out of 2020 when I'm in this launch phase. So again, I know this sounds really silly, but that's the thing that really came to the forefront of my mind when I thought, what was the biggest lesson I learned? And it was really, I need to take some decisions out of my hands. So that means I have to ask for help, in which I'm probably not the best at. So I'm saying it out loud right now that I'm going to be asking for help going forward in 2020. And I think that it's going to help everything. More importantly than anything else, it's going to help my stress level, because I did recognize something along this launch, and it's that stress really manifested in my body during this launch. I had severe neck pain that I had to end up going to the doctor for. So self-care is something that I'm keeping top of mind, but it really comes down to stress. And decision making is what it came down to. And I only got to this because I journaled a lot during this process, and I talked to friends and family. It was important for me to figure this out because I don't think I would have figured out it was actually decision. Because I really thought it was like the cooking or the prepping or whatever it was, but it's actually only decision making that caused so much stress that I need to figure out how to adjust going forward. But enough talk about food and decision stuff. Let's talk about marketing, because that's why you're here. So first and foremost, this last week, I changed a ton of things on my marketing plan. So at the very beginning, I created a marketing plan for every single day of the 2 weeks that the doors were open. And the first week, I changed a few things, but not really that much. I followed the plan. I was really proud of myself for using the majority of the emails. But oh my gosh, this last week, it was like the plan was there as a suggestion. So I ended up changing so many things. I changed emails. I changed social media posts. And the crazy part is that I actually sent more emails and posted more on social media than I had planned. And I say this because if you're still on my list, I appreciate you for hanging in there. And guess what? You're in the clear for quite a few months. You're in the clear. You will now only get one email a week. So we're back to normal scheduling, and I'm really excited. But I bring this up because most people really push back when I say you need to send this many emails to your list during the launch because email converts. And I will say that email does convert, and it was email and Facebook Live yet again that rose to the top during this launch period. Those are the two things that brought people in, and I will keep those on the schedule. So during the next launch period, there will be just as many emails that come out. And the reason that there's hesitation when it comes to email and sending a lot of them is that people typically fear that someone's going to get upset that you sent too many emails and they're going to unsubscribe. And I want to tell you something. And I would say it's a secret, but it's really not a secret because everyone says this. If someone unsubscribes from your list, they were not going to buy from you, either in that season or ever. They are not going to buy from you. So try really hard not to take it personally. And I totally get it because every so often you're going to see a name that you know, especially when your list is really small because you probably know all of them. And so with this, I want you to, first of all, don't look at those names. When you see that there's a number, it says like how many people unsubscribed, which mine were through the roof, by the way. So just so you know, the higher your list gets, the more people on your list, the more people are going to unsubscribe. And my numbers were high, so I didn't look at during the launch period of who is unsubscribing. That's not something I looked at, and I want to encourage you to not look at that list. But every so often, you're going to send an email, and you're going to be curious of who unsubscribed, and you're going to see a name that you know. And in that moment, I want you to take a minute and try really, really hard not to take it personally. I want you to just remember they're probably just cleaning up their inbox. And if your mom wants to clean out their inbox and not get your emails anymore, like let her off the hook. It's okay. It's okay if your best friend or your mom or your cousin or whoever unsubscribes from your list. They're not going to buy from you. It's okay. And I know it stings. I totally know it stings, but trust me on this. Just let it go and stop looking at that list. But I sent a ton of emails and I tracked every single detail. So every single word that was in there, what the subject line was, the open rate, the click rate, every single thing. And I would do this anyway, but I took a lot of detailed notes because, like I said in last week's episode, I'm going to have Allison, a copywriter, an amazing copywriter, rewrite all of the emails based on the responses that I got, based on the open rate, all of that, and based on how she helps people write emails. She's really good at it. So what I'm going to do is send her everything that I already have, and she is going to modify, change, give me suggestions. And I cannot wait to see how the stats come back. And I mentioned Facebook Live. So I had quite a few Facebook Lives already planned. I knew when it was going to happen, like what days, but I actually ended up going live more than I thought. And it was really because I was inspired to do it. And so what I want to say with that is that if you feel inspired to do something like go on Instagram Live or Facebook Live and share a message. So for instance, I was receiving questions that I thought, oh, I bet someone else has that question too. That is when I was like, I'm just going to go live right now. And I want to encourage you to follow that. If your gut says to do it, do it. If people don't want to watch your Facebook Live or your Instagram Live or see another post, they will ignore it. Just like those email subscribers. If they unsubscribe, they weren't going to buy from you. And keep in mind that on social media, not everyone sees everything. So there were days that I posted 3 times in a day. And if the people that followed me saw it 3 times, great. If they didn't, that's okay too. But I needed to keep posting and to amp up towards the end. So I did decide to post more often and go live on Facebook more often as well. So after all of that, after saying all of that and talking through the marketing lessons and the feelings and the emotions, there is one more thing that I really like to do after trying something new, or even after doing something like a launch, a heavy marketing period, whatever it is. And it's not something I created, but it's something called a start, stop, continue. So what would you start doing? What should you stop doing? And what should you continue to do? And I would like to encourage you to do the same thing. Maybe after you market a workshop series and see how many people that you were able to bring in, or a yoga teacher training, or just each month posting on social media. Use this method anytime, and it's really helpful. And it's also really nice to talk it through with a friend, but you can do this on your own. So here's my list. I'm going to go out of order. Instead of the start, stop, continue, I'm going to start with continue. And what I know I'll continue doing, I know I will have a plan before each and every launch, and I'll track it along the way. I'll mark, oh, I didn't do this, or I changed this, and I track things so then I know. I know what I changed so I don't try and do the same thing again. And I know that I'll continue to write all of my social media posts and emails ahead of time. That was super helpful. Even though I changed some things, it was so helpful to have everything already written. Or again, it comes back to those decisions, right? Yeah, I made the decision to change a word or change a phrase or add another social media post, but for the majority of what I did, I had something to start with, so I didn't have to make the decision to start and figure out how I was going to start the email or the social media post. And the other two things that I'm going to continue to do is I am always going to listen to my members and my audience. What I did over the course of the last few weeks is I listened to every single member and people in my audience. What I mean by that is that I asked my members, what had you say yes to this membership? What is the thing that you love the most about the membership? And then I allowed that to drive all of my messaging. And then I asked people who are on the fence, what are your questions? And then I allowed that to influence all of my emails and my social media posts. So you hear me say this a lot, and I really want to shine a light on it. If you listen to your students and you recognize the words they're using and you listen to what they're asking for, your content is done for you. And I take my own advice when it comes to this. It took me a long time to really do this, and now that I do it, people engage. There were 40 new members who said yes to the membership, and it's because the founding members gave me the words to say. It's because those members had questions that I was able to answer. So if you can take this away, if you can say, okay, my dream student asked me this question all the time, or I'm constantly being asked for this specific thing, that's what I want you to talk about. It doesn't matter if you're trying to call people into your monthly class, to a workshop series, to a yoga teacher training, whatever it is, the more you can listen to your audience, the more effective your marketing will be. And I promise that that is the case. And the other thing that I will continue to do forever is to show up. It's what everyone loves. The majority of the comments that I got from the members when I said, what's your favorite part about the membership? They said, it's you. It's you showing up. And again, I'm so honored to hear that feedback. And it just shines a light on the thing that I say all the time, which is there are thousands of yoga teachers out there, and likely there's someone doing the same thing you're doing, but they can't do it in the same way that you can. And your students want you. And this is reflected in every single comment that I got saying, Amanda, it's you. It's you showing up. It's you answering questions. It's you being present. And I will never stop showing up. For the members who said that, I want you to know that it means the world to me, that it is me, that you find valuable in this membership, and that is so huge. And so I want you to remember that with your offering too. It's you, it's your words, it's your voice, it's your way of communicating cues in a yoga class. It is you that makes it different. So thank you for sharing that. And I want you to know that because of those words, I will never stop showing up for you. That will always be the biggest part of the membership, is me showing up for you and you showing up for one another too. So I'm really excited about that. So I will absolutely continue to do that. But on to what I will start doing. First and foremost, I'm going to get some decisions made for me. So I'm going to make it really clear what I need. So I really do think I'm going to need someone, whether it is my husband or I find some amazing person in the community who will make decisions for me and my family about what we can eat. And that is going to be the biggest thing because that seems to weigh the heaviest on me. And my husband and I'm certain we'll sit down and talk about, okay, here's driving, here's drop off, pickup, here are commitments that are coming up, all of the decisions we're going to make ahead of time, because that is what I felt weighed on me the most. So that's the home stuff. The business stuff is I am going to start list building right now. I'm going to start list building right now for the next opening of the membership. And I plan to be digging in and learning about 2 things over the next few months. So get ready, members, because you're going to learn a ton about these 2 things because it's going to be on my mind. And that is SEO, so learning search engine optimization and how to make that more efficient on my website and on your website, and how to run Facebook and Instagram ads super effectively. I'm going to get some help. I'm going to get some training because I have bought courses. I have gone through all the free stuff, and I haven't really identified the best way to run ads on an effective basis. So I reached out and I asked for help. So I've already started that process of asking for help and saying, okay, I don't know this, I'm going to get help. So I actually did this with both ads and SEO, and I'm going to get help with both of those things. I'm going to dive in and figure out how to consistently list build from now until eternity. I'm going to keep going with that. I'm going to start a list of exciting things that I see. So people are marketing and they're launching and they're, doing these things all the time. If I see something cool, I'm going to create a list so I can always go back to that list. And I'm also going to make self-care non-negotiable. So you heard me say that I had some really bad neck pain and I've identified some stressors. And I have to keep that at bay because it really came to a head and it was pretty rough there for a bit. So I need to focus more on self-care during this process, but not only during this process, but all the time. It really woke me up and made me realize that stress caused physical pain in my body, and I've got to figure out how to manage that better than I have before. So I'm certainly not the worst. I think there could be worse things that I'm doing, but I think there can be better things too. So I'm going to start with that right now and not stop. It's not just going to be during a launch, it's going to be ongoing and all the time. And on to the stopping. So there's a few things I'm going to stop doing too. So number 1 is negative self-talk. I found myself beating myself up a few times along this way, and I have recognized it after journaling and talking to friends and family and that sort of thing, but I need to catch it sooner. So I'm going to do my absolute best to stop that negative self-talk during a process of heavy workload and really ongoing as well. But more so, I just need to make sure that I'm not thinking negatively about something that I'm really working hard towards. So I need to really watch my thoughts more than my words, really. The words didn't actually come out, but they were in my head. So I need to really focus in on that. The other thing I need to stop is not asking for help. I can only do so much. I can only make so much progress all by myself. So I need to figure out how to ask for help in an effective way, in a very clear way. I'm going to be better about asking for help. And if that means if I don't have the financial means to ask for help to hire something out, then I might have to cut it. But I need to really recognize where I need help and asking for help, and really focusing on making sure that it's all wrapped up into this self-care, right? I need to not talk negatively, and I need to ask for help when I need it. And I need to not feel bad about asking for help because I help people a lot. So I just need to remember to ask other people as well. And so I say all of this because you're likely in the same boat. You probably don't ask for very much help either. And so let's talk about it a little bit more. Let's just make that a thing and ask for help when we need it. Because if I'm encouraging you to do it, then I'll do it for myself too. But overall, I am really proud of all that I did. Short of me doing a few other things that I already know I'll do next time, I don't think I could have done anything else by myself. I hit my limit and I didn't really stay all the way healthy. So I'm going to make some changes and figure out how I can do this more effectively next time. But overall, I feel like I did pretty dang awesome. And I welcomed in 40 new members to my membership. So that's fantastic. And again, yeah, I didn't hit my goal, but who cares? Who cares in the end? So what? I'm still driven. I'm not stopping. I'm not crying on the bathroom floor. I know I joked about that earlier, but I didn't cry. There's no tears here. I'm not sad. I'm extremely driven, so I know I'm going to work my tail off to set a new goal next time and hit that goal. I'm going to keep working. But I'm not sad. I'm so happy. And I'm ready. I'm so ready to start October. I'm excited to do some list building techniques. And the super amazing part about this is that these list building activities I get to share with the members. And get ready for this. So back in August, yes, let me say that again. Back in August, I decided what I was going to teach the members in October. And I decided on email marketing. No joke. I decided and recorded email marketing modules to go into the membership. So just so you know, I recorded everything. It was pre-recorded. And wouldn't you know, I'm talking about email marketing in October, in the moment where I need to be list building my email, right? I need to be list building and doing these efforts, and I'm going to try new things. So what a perfect freaking time for me to share with the members what I'm doing. You heard me at the beginning of this episode say, I teach what I do, and I'm literally going to be doing the exact same thing that I am teaching the yoga teachers in my membership to do. I may be using extra techniques or going a little bit further than some of the yoga teachers in the membership for sure, because I might be further along in that process, but I'm going to be doing the same thing. We're all working towards a similar goal. So we get to grow and learn together, which I think is super fun. And get ready, members. It's coming and it's going to be good because I'm right there with you and we're going to go along this journey together. So all of that being said, I've shared all the feelings, all the numbers, and all the lessons that I've learned along the way too. I'm so excited to jump in with the 73 members. And again, I want to share a very special thank you to each and every one of you who said yes. I hope you know how invested I am in your business, and I want you to know that you are not just a number to me. I know I've been saying the number 73 so many times in this episode, but you are not a number to me. You are a name on my wall. And just like everyone saw the Post-its over this launch and saw me writing names and all of that, I want you to know that the Post-its stay. The Post-its stay on my wall. They move to a different wall, so they won't be in the video anymore. But I use these Post-its because it helps me every single day. I look at your name, I remember you, I remember your business every single day. And I think that's super important to my business. And I hope you know that you are not number 17. You are Jessica, or you are Ashley. You are, I can list 73 names, but I'm not going to do that. But you are the person that I am working for every day. And I love that. So I just want you to know how special you are to me, and I want you to know how much I appreciate you. But in true style, it's time for me to give myself a next best step. And it's one for you if you're going through a launch or you're listening to this going through some sort of heavy marketing period of your own. And so my next best step is to rest. Period. End of story. That's it. That's my only job for the next few days is to rest. I need to rest my mind, rest my eyes, and rest my body. It's really time for me to rest, and I couldn't be more excited. So until next time, give yourself permission to rest when you need it and grace along the way. Talk to you soon.